the mandibular first molar pulp cavities. Buccolingual section. You can see this in figure 13.22 A and D. The buccolingual cross section of the mandibular first molar demonstrates a large pulp chamber that may extend well. The buccolingual cross section of the mandibular first molar demonstrates a large pulp chamber that may extend well down into the root formation. You can see this in figure 13.22A1 and 2, D15 and 18. The mesial root usually has a more complicated root canal system because of the presence of two canals. The distal root usually has one large canal, but two canals are often present. Occasionally, a fourth canal is present, but has its own separate root. You can see in the figure 13.22 A1, 2, 5, 6, 8 and 9, D10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 17 and 18. The pulp horns are quite prominent in most mandibular first molars, but you can see in the figure 13.22 A3, 4, 7, D13 and 16 where the pulp horns are quite small. The pulp chambers of mesial roots are square to rectangular, excluding the pulp horns. You can see this in figure 13.22 A1, 2, 4, 6, 7 and 9, D10, 11, 12, 14, 16 and 18. But this configuration is not seen in a root with a single canal. But this configuration is not seen in a root with a single canal. You can see this in figure 13.22 A3 and 8, D13, 15 and 17. One or both of the mesial canals may be significantly curved. One or both of the mesial canals may be significantly curved. You can see this in figure 13.22 A1 and 2, D16 and 18, or it may be moderately curved. You can see this in figure 13.22 A4 and 6, A4 and 6, D10, 12 and 14, or relatively straight. You can see this in figure 13.22 A7 and 9. The two canals may join each other in the apical region to exit in a common foramen. You can see this in figure 13.22 A1, 2 and 6, D14, or they may have separate apical foramen. You can see this in figure 13.22 A4, 7 and 9, D10, 12, 16 and 18. The apical foramen usually appears to exit on the tip of the broad mesial root. You can see this in figure 13.22 A1, 2, 4, 6, 7 and 9, D10, 14 and 16. But in some roots, one of the two canals exits on the side of the root tip. You can see this in figure 13.22 D12 and 18. The diameter of the mesial canals is usually very small and demonstrates a slight rotor. So let's talk about the distal root. The distal root usually has one large pulp chamber which is very wide in the buccolingual dimension. You can see this in figure 13.22 A3, 5 and 8, D15 and 17. Whereas the other distal roots may possess a pulp chamber that is more constricted. You can see in the figure 13.22 D11 and 13. The distal root usually has one large pulp canal which may show a considerable buccal lingual dimension until the canal constricts abruptly a few millimeters from the apex of the root. You can appreciate this in figure 13.22, A3, 5 and 8, D17. Reconstruction of the canal is a constriction of the canal in the last few millimeters of the root is not always present. You can see this in figure 13.22, D15. When two canals are present, they will be partially or completely separated by a dentinal island. You can see this in figure 13.22, D11. The apical foramen of a root with a single canal usually appears to be located at the apex of the root. You can see this in figure 13.22, A3 and 8 and D13, but it may be slightly buccal or lingual to the apex of the root. In the figure, you can 13.22, A5, D15 and 17. Let's discuss about the mesial-distal section. In figure 13.22, B and E. The mesial-distal section of the mandibular first molar presents few variations in the form of the pulp chamber or canals. The mesial and distal pulp cavities have canals and chambers that are centered within the roots and crowns. The pulp horns may be prominent. As you can see in the figure 13.22, B8, E11, 14 and 15 moderately evident. In figure 13.22, B2, 3, 6 and 7, E12 are barely detectable. In figure 13.22, B4, E13 and 16 or may demonstrate a combination of these variations. You can see in the figure 13.22, B1 and 9, E17 and 18. The pulp chambers are usually rectangular, excluding the pulp horns, or may be large. You can see in the figure 13.22, B1, 4 through 7 and 9, E10 through 18 are very small. You can see in the figure 13.22, B2, 3 and 8. The mesial root and canal. The mesial root and canal usually shows considerable curvature. You can see this in figure 13.22, B1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 and 9, E12, 13, 15, 16 and 18. Some canals demonstrate less curvature. The mesial root and canal usually show the considerable curvature. You can see in the figure 13.22, B1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 and 9, E12, 13, 15, 16 and 18. Some canals demonstrate less curvature. You can see this in figure 13.22, B6, E10, 11, 14 and 17. Excessive secondary or apparative dentin or reactive dentin or tertiary dentin deposition may also be seen in figure 13.22, B2. The apical foramen usually appears to exit at the tip of the root. In figure 13.22, B1, 5, 7 and 8, E10, 11, 12, 14, 15 and 17, but appear to exit on the mesial in figure 13.22, B 2, 4, 6 and 9, E16 are on the distal aspect of the root in figure 13.22, B3. The distal root is usually straighter and tends to be a little shorter than the curved mesial root. C. Whereas in the maxillary first molar, the palatal root is the longest, followed by mesiobuccal root, followed by distal buccal root. if three roots are present. Whereas in the mandibular first molar, the distal root is usually straighter and tends to be little shorter than the curved mesial root. You can see this in figure 13.22, B1, 3, 6 and 8, B12, 14 and 15. However, it may be the same length. You can see this in figure 13.22, B2, 4 and 7, E10, 11, 13, 16, 17 and 18 are even slightly longer as seen in figure 13.22, B5 and 9. The distal canal is usually larger than the mesial canal. In figure 13.22, B2 and 4 through 7, E11, 14, 15, 16 and 18. But the canals may look very similar in size when viewed from the buccal aspect. You can see this in figure 13.22, B1, 3, 8 and 9, B10, 12, 13 and 17. The distal canal usually tapers gently to the apical constriction. The apical foramen most often appears to be located on the distal aspect of the root. You can see in the figure 13.22, B2, 3, 5, 7 and 8, E13, 16 and 17. In some teeth, this distal deviation is quite marked. As you can see in the figure 13.22, B5, 7, E13 and 17. Mesial deviation of the distal root is distal canal does occur. You can see this in figure 13.22, B6. However, it is usually only a minor deviation. The apical foramen of the distal root will often appear to be located at the tip of the root. The apical foramen of the distal root will often appear to be located at the tip of the root. This is evident in figure 13.22, B1, E10, 11, 12, 14, 15 and 18. Let's talk about the cervical cross section. In figure 13.22, C1 to 5, right? The cervical cross section of the mandibular first molar is generally quadrilateral in form. Distally, it tapers a little from the wider buccolingual measurement of the mesial aspect of the tooth. The pulp chamber outline generally follows that of the root. You can see this in figure 13.22, C1, 2 and 5, but may show buccal in figure 13.22, C3 and are lingual in figure 13.22, C4. Projections of dentin if the pulp chamber is excessively narrowed by secondary or reactive osteodentin. The pulp chamber floor has two small funnel-shaped openings into the mesial root, one buccal and one lingual, right? Whereas the distal aspect of the pulp chamber usually shows a single opening that is less constricted. Let's talk about the mid-root cross section. In figure 13.226 through 9, the mid-root view of the mandibular molar usually demonstrates the root canal form. The mid-root view of the mandibular molar usually demonstrates the root canal form, right, which is consistent with the major form of the tooth. The mesial root usually is somewhat kidney shaped with the two separate canals. We can see this in figure 13.22, C7 and 9, C7 and 9. But a figure 8 shape of the root is also very common. But a figure 8 shape of the root is also very common. You can see this in figure 13.22, C6 and 8. C6 and 8. The two canals may be totally separate. The two canals may be totally separate. You can see this in figure 13.22, C6 and 8, where the mesial root showing the two canals forming the figure 8 shape, right? And the two roots are totally separated or may be confluent with the other canal. You can see this in figure 13.22, C7 and 9, where the mesial roots show the kidney shape canals similar to the kidney shaped root. Even 3 canals may be found in this root on occasion. Even 3 canals may be found in this root, that is mesial root, on occasion. The distal root is usually rounder than the mesial root. You can see in figure 13.22, C7 and 9. But a very wide root indicates there are 2 root canals, but a very wide root is also common. You can see in the figure 13.22, C6 and 8, right? Those roots that tend to be round usually demonstrate only one canal, whereas the broader distal roots tend to have 2 canals. This is evident in figure 13.22, C6 and 8, right? Are very thin canal, that is single, or they may possess a dentinal island in the figure 13.22, C8, right, where there are thin canals with a dentinal island. Even in a root with a single canal, the distal canal tends to show a developmental depression or concavity on the mesial aspect of the root, that is usually towards the furcation area. You can see this in figure 13.22, C7 and 9.